Right now, MTN got itself a D-Day delay as it announced that Nigerian authorities would not impose the $5.2 billion fine until the negotiations with the regulators were concluded. What does that mean for MTN, and what should MTN investors make of this? To help us answer the question is Boye Gbadebo. He is a managing director at Ake Partners, and he joins us now. Boye, thank you for making the time to join us. One of the things that everybody's obviously been following is looking at whether the Nigerian authorities or the regulators are actually going to entertain an engagement with MTN. It certainly seems like that is happening. What can be achieved from this realistically? Are we looking at a reduction of a fine? Is that the definition of success? I would assume that a scrapping of the fine is not an option.
It's an option, but it's probably an unlikely scenario. I think the first thing was, as soon as their license was renewed, I think that was extremely strong sign, not only to MTN, but also to the markets, that there was an opportunity for a negotiation. And I think the actual way of MTN addressing this situation will be extremely complicated. I don't think it's just a question of the chairman arriving in Nigeria, having a half-an-hour chat or 1 hour chat, and that will be it. I think it's extremely important that, first of all, one appreciates, as I said, that there is a sort of a new, I would say, political ethos at play in Nigeria, and which has been sort of manifested by this fine. And the rules of the game have completely changed. But I think more importantly, it's going to be extremely important for one to look at where the regulators are coming from. And I didn't say regulator, I said regulators. And because in the telecoms industry in Nigeria, there are a number of regulators that sort of oversee the provision of telecommunication services. Yeah. Plus, there are genuine security concerns that I can go into later, which you can't divorce from all this.
Yeah. Well, in terms of the mood and the tone of these interactions, you know, Phuthuma Nhleko is the heavyweight of the sector. He's the executive chairman. He was chief executive a long time. He was very successful. So he goes there. How much of this is about face? I mean, do they want him to grovel? Do they want him to say, "We're so sorry, we didn't intend this, we were slack"? Or is it kind of your move, my move, maneuver? The South African government appeared to be saying, "We're not getting involved, guys. This is your problem."
David, I actually think that's a very good question, actually, because the resignation of the CEO, the group CEO, was an extremely important and significant sign, because I think, as I've said before, that a fine of that quantum was sending a message, and in order for you to reduce that obvious punitive element of that fine, there had to be an appropriate degree of contrition, and a resignation of the group CEO was, I think, the appropriate and perhaps step in that regard. So I don't think there's any need for the chairman to be going there and groveling and saying, "We are very sorry." I think it's a given that MTN is sorry, but I think the resignations has already demonstrated.
But the the chief executive, when he resigned, he talked about unfortunate prevailing circumstances, like it was the weather, like he had nothing to do with it.
Natural disaster.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you read resignation letters, they're normally not.
I have two quick questions. My first one is your analysis of why the head of MTN Nigeria didn't resign, the person who's got the most immediate oversight over those particular operations. Could it be that this was because he's the first Nigerian to be appointed into that position? And then the second question is around the extent to which this corporate issue is actually heavily embroiled in the politics between South Africa and Nigeria, and this is what makes it perhaps a little bit more tricky to navigate.
Yeah. The first point is the fact that the current, I think, the CEO of MTN Nigeria, I think he's been there since 2013. This actual situation has been around since 2008, and the agreement amongst the telecom operators was reached in 2010, and MTN was first of all fined for this in 2013. So if you wanted to take that logic further, you could say that the group CFO, who was the former CEO of MTN Nigeria, he should be the one that should resign. But that doesn't take away the fact, and it's a valid question, as to why the current CEO of MTN Nigeria still has his position.
And the politics, South Africa, Nigeria?
I wouldn't place too much of a sort of emphasis on that. I think there are other companies, South African companies in Nigeria, that are doing extremely well. And I think the focus should really be on the fact that there was non-compliance in this regard.
Boye, thank you so much for your time. That's Boye Gbadebo. He's a managing director at Akepa.